You are good.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hold the silent, please, for deceased members. Confirming with the secretary that the appropriate budget notice is posted to meet the regulatory controls of the state of the art.
You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With that, we can jump to the roll call.
Chris.
Here.
Brian.
Here.
Rich.
Hi.
Nick. Here.
And let the record show Danny's having vehicle trouble. He's on his way as you get her. This is kind of your lead, Sean. You've given us a.
Yep. So you should have a copy of the proposed budget. You have a copy. Included in there is the final budget of last year. Okay, for a total of $1,455,609. That was last year. Okay, so certain numbers on here I had changed in the proposal. So you can see we had $61,154 for personnel services. That's for payroll. But really, it's really not enough. What happens is JO never hits his hours. Okay, so we have like a $3,000 cushion because we're going to be over this 61. I think a little bit because JO is going to be working a little overtime with this new training,
Learning the new system, and
I'm forecasting another.
plus he's going to have additional hours now that he's going to be doing the entry.
Right. So that's why I bumped that up to 66,000 to like make sure we have JO covered because it's probably going to eat up more hours than he has been with this new system. Okay, so I have made an adjustment to that. Okay. Then I looked at the insurance, and we have some space in that insurance. So I reduced it from 118 down to 110. Okay, very good there because we were under budget on that line item. I also reduced LoSAP by 5,000 because we were still under budget on that amount, but it's subject to change because I don't get the bill for that until next year. So I don't want to like cut it too much, but we were well under. I think it was 240, and we had 265. But there's also that smaller portion that's for the WFD guys that already have 30 years, and then they get that $700
I can't give a term. I'm vested. I can't.
Post entitlement.
Yeah, post entitlement. Thank you.
So anyways, I dropped that by 5. I held the line pretty much on the other expenses line item. I had to increase it a little bit for the additional Social Security tax that would be on the additional payroll above. Follow me there. And then the amount of the bond and interest principal, that's just based upon an amortization schedule, so that's a plug number. So we're actually able to lower somewhat the general fund budget for for 2023 to $1,203,386. Now the assessment for the town was $349,750. It's supposed to be $59, not $56. Sorry about that. Right. But if we hold the line, we might not. If we hold the line on the tax rate at $4.15 per thousand, that'll give us revenue coming in from taxes of $1,466,401. So if you take that and subtract the general fund up above of $1,203,386, it leaves us with $263,015 of capital reserve. Okay. Now that's without making any adjustments to our tax rate. So I went on the state's website, like I have to do every year, and filed a 2% tax cap. Excuse me. So the maximum allowable that we can raise without having to pass a resolution for a majority saying we're gonna exceed the 2% tax cap, is $1,524,650. So that, you don't have that. I didn't even make a copy.
It's 1,500,000, you said?
Yeah, 1,524,000. So 1,524,000. So I did a little playing.
So roughly 75,000 more than what we're doing right now.
Yeah. So so the tax rate, so I was playing around with the tax rate in the spreadsheet here. So if we went to $4.31, we would take, I wish I had this on the projector. Usually in the other room, but if we went to $4.31, we would take in $1,522,900. So about additional 67,000. So I guess it's, up to the board, what they want to do with the tax. I mean, the whole budget's up to the board, but if we want to adjust the tax rate, and then how would we want to split that between equipment and building? And I think when we were talking on the long range planning, the money was going to go to equipment, because the building, we have whatever, 350,000 in there. Then we're going to bond or finance the upgrade to WFD. So maybe we don't put any money in that building account, and we just start stockpiling for the equipment.
That it?
I'm good.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, we're gonna hammer your questions.
Hold on, let me have a drink here.
I think based on the discussion that we had after the report from the long range planning committee I think it was clear to everybody, and everybody's discussion, we got the feedback from the public at the meeting about it and everything else. Everybody's in agreement that we've got to do something to bump up the amount of capital that's available for apparatus moving forward. Correct. And I think looking at this and looking at past budgets, where we have really hamstrung ourselves, especially the board and the district traditionally, is that we've tried to hold zero tax increase, zero tax increase, zero tax increase, zero tax increase. Oops, we got a big expenditure coming. Let's hammer it as much as we can. Where if we were doing 1.5 or 2 each year, we would be farther up ahead, and it would be much less painful to the taxpayers. And I think I don't want to see us fall short. I don't want to hammer the taxpayers. So I think we need to come to a medium resolution as to where that lands. And then we've got to kind of have to stick to it enough. You know what I'm trying to say? Stick with it. Stick with it. Yeah, we're going to stick with it. What I was trying to say, and do it consistently every year, because that's what's going to get that apparatus capital up that so that it's there, so that when we've got some big purchases coming up. We heard the truck company's coming. We're going to be buying a couple rescues, it looks like, or a rescue pumper. Down not too far behind the truck, and then before you know it, 9.6 is going to be due, and we'll be buying another engine, and then we're 22 years out, and the 2.7s will keep. So it's just this constant cycle. Yeah, that we need to get ourselves in a better position for.
I just want to, I always reiterate the fact that was a planned action by not raising the tax rate because of the merger, and we were saying that the residents of the town.
We said this district said, I wasn't on the board, but I supported it fully as a member of the public.
Yep.
This district said that when we did the consolidation, it wasn't going to lower taxes, it was going to stabilize taxes.
And that was kind of the driving force
for part of town. It did lower taxes, correct? When we merged the two districts together.
Yeah.
And then for the other part of town, it did stabilize taxes. Yeah. But we can't. It's an expensive business to be in, and we just can't, keep our head above water by saying, pass us down the same couple dollars you've been passing us every year.
Yeah.
So we ran some numbers at that meeting where we were looking at the expenses of an aerial and a rescue, some numbers like that. And do we have any kind of projection to where we need to be to come close to where we where were some of those numbers from last month? Let's see if I got this up. We're looking at numbers. We're looking, you know, by 2029, we need, well, by, I'm sorry, 2028, we need 2 mil right there, 2 mil right there. And then 2029, another 865,000, which we know that those are probably fair or short estimates. So, like, you know, realistically, by 2000, you know, and then 2030, another 820,000. So, you know, we're looking at 3 or 4 mil in the next 8 years.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do to this $4.15 number to get us anywhere near close ready for that? You have a projection, or anybody's got any thoughts?
Well,
I've been talking a lot. Anybody else got thoughts?
Not yet.
Well, my thought, Rich, is if, like I was playing around, so if we increased by 10 cents to go to $4.25 per thousand, that's going to give us about $300,000 that we can put into the equipment fund. And if we have that $300,000 going into the equipment fund over the next, it's going to be more than that going forward because the town grows and so forth, and we keep raising the rates. Anyways, it's going to be, you know, 300,000 times, you just said 8 years is $2.4 million.
What does 425 versus 415 do to the without me pulling out my phone?
Yeah, it's
I'm in Australia trying to use it.
the total tax revenue will be $1,501,000.
So we could, we don't even have to do a permissive referendum or
No, we're still under the 2% tax cap at that rate. And then it gives us $298,350 to go on the capital reserve.
Do you think 425 is enough, or do we want to try 430? It's 15 cents per thousand. The average, you know.
I think you got to take that up with the board. The board.
No matter what, we need money, so, you know, I think we need to raise it as close to the cap we can, without having to go out to the vote, because, you know, we're looking at.
Well, the beauty of it, we don't have to go out to the vote. You just got to have a majority of the board here approve it if it's above 2%. So it's kind of an internal function here. It's just when I fill out the 2% tax cap form with the state controller's office, this form here, they kind of like frown upon it. It like turns red when you go over the dollar.
I do agree, take it.
Yeah, so
Over the cap.
you know, the town's at what, about a 38 or 42% tax assessment rate?
Yeah.
Last I looked. Is that I don't know.
I don't remember.
It's like 40 something %. So you figure at best the average house is assessed at 100,000. It's the average house is probably much less than that. All right, which it just a $100,000 assessment. If we went up 15 cents, we're talking $50 a year.
Right.
So I mean, we're not talking, you know, divide that by 12. You can do the math. You know, we're talking, you know, an ice cream, a candy bar, an ice cream sandwich is what we're talking about. In increase, and I don't, you know, I don't want to be, I don't want to be one of a dozen districts that's piling on because now they're buying a whole case of ice cream sandwiches every month. But you know, certainly we can't do business the way we've done it in the past, based on what's happening with apparatus and insurance and fuel and buildings and
I mean, even this 15 cent increase is going to pay dividends into the future as well, because that's going to be, you know, 15 cents. Yeah, as we go forward. So we might not have to, like, maybe we do like a good shot here, and we might not have to do as big of a shot next year, you know, potentially.
I'm not opposed to that. Any thoughts on?
No, like I said, I agree with Dick, you know. Like compound, I mean, now's the time. I mean, you guys, the district that is, you know, they've held back on tax increases for years, not decades, you know, a couple small ones, but, you know, we are in a position where instead of, we don't start trying to increase the revenues now, in 6-7 years, you're gonna be at the point where the worst case scenario, bonding and all these other things you don't want to get into. save up the money, you can save, you know.
It's easier to spread the pain out.
Right, or like Sean says, it's compound, so, you know, this increase here, it just adds it as the set value of the town go up, so.
Chris, thoughts? I mean, it's gonna have to be done, because just looking at the long range planning report that I pulled out, we're talking in 6 years, we're gonna get, after a $2 million expenditure.
We're gonna get hammered.
We're gonna get another-
3.6 million in 3 years.
Yeah, you're gonna get another $1 million on top of that when you go out and buy another cheese car and another engine.
Yeah, it's just,
It's just jump there and, you know,
And there's definitely no donations going our way, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we're not, you know, it's not like, there was a time when both fire companies were supporting firematic operations with donations. I don't think we expect that, and I don't know that, you know, it's a consideration. I can remember so many meetings, so many of these budget meetings where we looked at, okay, this is how much money we'd get if we did 0, and then we back our budget into that number. And every year to do that, expenses went down in each of those categories, it seemed, because the big ones like fuel and insurance, we couldn't control. So we were spending less on equipment, we were spending less on personal protective stuff, we were spending less on whatever to get that number.
Also, I think it's just nature. I mean, you know, we've been holding back on the increases for years, but everything around us is getting more and more costly to buy anything. So, you know, we held back, but it's costing us more.
And we did stabilize the taxes for a good number of years without having to touch them. And I think that's something that we're hanging our hat on today. We did what we said we were going to do when we started this. The board did what they said we were going to do when they started this consolidation. I really was hoping Danny would come in because he's got some historical. Man, we go, you know, we don't decide this time. We're not deciding with like we take this and we go what?
Well, you gotta adopt the proposed budget. And then we gotta have our public hearing, the 18th.
Right, and then
The
we can
18th of October, Terry, you know.
Whatever day you pick the third week, so.
Yeah, third Tuesday of October, so, okay, the 18th. Rich, I just kind of went along with what we were talking about. It's 316,000 going into capital reserve this year. And if we were to keep that as like a base and increase it by 2% every year for the next 6 years, it'd be $2 million. So we already, and we have not a lot, 225,000 already in there. So I mean, it is heading us in the right direction.
225,000 base for the tires. So
You're right, yeah. So I mean, if we can, you know, take this one big kind of step this year, and then it might not have to be as significant in future periods.
I'm not opposed to that, to take it up 15 cents and use that. You know, we're not gonna go willy-nilly and start let's go buy all kinds of crazy things, but it's earmarked for, because we gotta put money away and buy apparatus.
Yeah.
And that was made clear to us in the long-range planning report last month. So.
I do have one question. Sure. Not to apparatus, but if we do go to bond for the Wines Hill Station, how does this affect these numbers at all, or we kind of shape what we're just I guess, you know,
Yeah, well,
meant to preparing for a bond.
I was kind of going like according to the schedule that happened here. So when we went to the vote in, I think it was November, we voted. Then we got the money in, it was April, and then I'd have to make another payment for the following year.
Okay,
So we would have, I'm assuming we might have that same.
Same's gonna be 2024 for a bond.
What do you think, Terry? You know, that's kind of when, but now we've been talking about, you know, maybe not going out to bond, but going to, you know, commercial bank and so forth to maybe just get a loan for it.
Right, I mean, payments, I guess, either way, just more, you know.
Either way, you gotta pay Piper.
Yeah, exactly. And I did call Terry's banker that he gave me, and it would just be an annual payment. And, it's not like a monthly
Terry doesn't have a bank.
thing.
Terry,
You wish I had a bank.
Terry's got that much money that he's got his own personal banker?
You know, it's attorneys.
There's interesting, there's a big push now by the manufacturers to do two things. One, leave the price unsettled when you negotiate a contract with them. And number two, go through their in-house financing arms. You know, Pierce, for instance, has got some partnership made now with PNC Bank. And it's just, they're just making presentations and doing stuff that's just patently, say improper, because illegal.
One step shy of Fonzie.
Yes, but you guys, I mean, to your credit, you know, in retrospect, getting those two rigs was an excellent move, because you couldn't touch them for the price that you got. You'd be $250,000 more.
Wow.
If you could get them.
Wow. The 15 cents, what's that do? That certainly is going to put us over the 154, 1,524,000.
It's, well, if we go with 15 cents, tax rate will go to $4.30 per thousand. And the total revenue generated from that would be $1,519,404.
So we're still under what we said.
Oh yeah, we're still under. Yeah, we're still
That's a
below.
no-brainer then.
We're still well below the 2%.
That's a no-brainer. We're not even touching the tax cap. We routinely see, you know, fire districts and town boards and you know, other entities slamming that tax cap year after year.
Well, it would have been nice if we knew Rensselaer County was cutting theirs last year. So we could have raised ours last year. Nobody would have.
Well, it points to something else in that long-range planning committee report that you know, these things all web together.
Right.
Is that we've got to watch. You know, there was a presentation at the planning board meeting that night. No, sorry, the town board meeting about a development project down off of Route 4. And the question was asked, are there any tax abatements on it? And, you know, and the first time the answer came out to that, you know, was there any pilots? He gave an answer that didn't answer the question. So the question was asked again, are there any pilots? And then he more directly answered and said, no, there are no pilots. But I know, I can't remember which project it was. I want to say it was the GE project right behind us, GE Medical, where they were asked if there were no pilots. And then, no, I'm sorry, it was not that one. It was an apartment complex. And then, you know, at the last minute stroke of the pen, after all the approvals were done by the town and was completely out of the town's regulatory control, oh, look, Rensselaer County granted a pilot and included the fire district. And we weren't even notified. So we've got to stay on top of that stuff. Like, I don't know how, because we don't even get notification that they're going to take an action on it. Right. So it really is, it's a tough nut for us to crack. But we got to try and stay on top of it. What do we need, a motion, a resolution?
Well, we got to adopt the proposed budget in a regular monthly.
Oh, that's right. We can't do anything with it here. We just discuss it here because, all right, we get public input. Any other questions or comments for John or Bob? You got any input on this you want to throw in there?
No, just,
Throw the bus under the bus or anything?
well, no, I mean, everybody knows the points about equipment, labor costs. I mean, yeah, you figure it out, 75,000 or close to that in 10 years, that buys you one truck per se, okay? Nothing's going down, nothing, and everything is increasing, right, significantly, so it's a no-brainer.
I don't see some of this stuff going down either. And I think the way the fire service supply business is doing business has markedly changed over the last 5 years. COVID pushed it along, but I mean, you're not seeing these big shows anymore. You're not seeing, it's a change market. All right, any other discussion? Any questions? Discussion? Points that need to be brought up in the budget? No? Consider a motion to adjourn the workshop meeting. Motion made. Motion seconded. Any discussion on that? I see thumbs up. All in favor?
Aye.
For adjourn. Do we want to wait till 5 for the regular meeting, or do you want to jump right into it? Dan is supposed to be on his way. He's got vehicle problem, so he's got to wait till
He was
his wife
waiting,
gets home.
he was waiting for a ride.
Switch vehicles or whatever. Dive right in. All right. Switch paperwork here before I get confused. It's easy to confuse me. Their paperwork. Good thing you got me this big table. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Regular meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners for September. Please rise and join me in the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence for past members of the district. Roll call, please.
Chris.
Here.
Brian. Here. Rich. Nick.
Here.
Rich, Chris. I don't hear what you said. It's confusing me. Let's see. We're gonna have a public session, but for agenda items only. Anybody got anything for the public session? Yes, sir.
I have an issue with the LoSAP tracking at our department. For some reason, Mr. Oliver cannot get the first 3 months of this year for me in the computer system. So it's been showing from April, from April to September is the only way I can track my LoSAP. And he can't get me into the system for January, February, March.
He physically can't get you in.
Says that it just, the system will not allow him to enter me into, now I got in back active like last year. And it was in the middle of the year, so I didn't anticipate making LoSAP last year because I didn't join at the beginning of the year. But I assumed that by the time the first of the year when it came around, that, you know, you would have me in the system and everything would be fine. Now we're into September and I can only track my LoSAP from April to September. And our secretary that does for the LoSAP handout sheets to show you where you are and, you know, bring it to your attention that, you know, you might need to, you know,
Bump it up.
yeah, or do whatever you gotta do. I can't really legitimately keep track of what the, you know, records are when I'm missing the first 3 months and it's saying I'm ineligible because I'm not showing the first 3 months.
Yeah, I know less about the firehouse software than you do. But I can tell you that we are, Bob and I had this conversation today, it's funny. We are within like a month or two of completely pulling the plug on the firehouse software because both J.O. and Bonnie have been receiving training on the new system. And we were hoping you could get a report from Dan tonight on that when he gets here, that the new system should be coming online and we'll start to take over everything October 1 for the October, November, December quarter, excuse me, October, November, December quarter. And we had this conversation today that we're still gonna have to go back and manually add the old system to the new system. And there's probably gonna have to be some cleanup. And
Well, just, what I'm saying is,
And what it does is
you guys
hurt you
go
for
back and add me from April to September, and if he doesn't, if there's no recollection of knowing to go back and look for my first 3 months, it'll never even get added to the new system.
Bob, can you check with him to see if he's got an accounting of what Al's made? And we see if we can manually come up with, hey, you made this number of calls, this is the
Well,
divider,
even
this
if
is your
for
percent.
now, if somebody could reach out to J.O. and just
Right,
ask him
that's
to.
right. So, I mean, I'm gonna have Bob reach out to J.O. And see if he can come up with a number for you. Do we know of anybody else that this is happening to?
Yeah, this is the first I've heard of this stuff.
Rich, this has been going on for a couple of years. We caught it during the LoSAP report when we sat down and went through each person.
Okay.
And it's a problem with him entering into his paperwork form that he scratched out on putting someone in the new line item in. So we kind of did it clean and we caught, after the LoSAP was completed, we caught 2 or 3 mistakes.
All right, with the new system, that shouldn't be an issue. And that's, you know, and as I said before, I'm not making excuses for it.
He knows, J.O. knows how to go about it. He just can't.
Okay. So Bob can touch bases with J.O. We'll definitely make sure we get Al caught up and get him a number. And then we'll see if there's anybody else out there that happens to. Bob, you were gonna say something?
The chief would like to comment from
Oh,
Wyskill. He's on Zoom. Adam?
Adam, go ahead, please.
Yep, so Mr. Yetto brought this to my attention. I brought it to Mr. Oliver's attention. And basically what we're gonna do for that first marking period, so to speak, is when we sit down to do the audit with Commissioner Scifo, We're just gonna have to keep track of it separately. So we are aware of it. We are in place to track it. But like we said, there may be others out there that, you know, we're gonna have to pay attention for.
That's all well and good, chief, but I think what Alan's looking for, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think what he's looking for is a kind of a number as to where he is now, so that, does he have to bump up his level of activity between now and the end of the year? So that he does.
Well, of course, he needs to bump up his level of activity regardless, so.
Yeah, he's always been a slacker, but that's beside.
Yeah.
No,
But we,
we'll have Bob talk to Jo and see if we can at least get him a number that's accurate. It may not be, you know, stamped in gold from the computer system, but if we can get him a number that's accurate, that says, hey, we get any calls, this is the divisor, this is the percentage you're at, and that'll help out. Well, you think that'll help you out? Great.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else have anything from public session? Okay, let's move ahead to the building committee report. I see Joey out there chomping at the bit, handing out paperwork. What do you got for us, Bob?
We're not having anything to work out. We met with Ed and his group. What was that, 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
He proposed, he gave a set of drawings with 3 different proposals on it for where the kitchen may or may not set. He brought some very good ideas to us. If we were to move the kitchen and move it over to where the executive board guys are right now, that like in the front of the building, even though it would be an expense to move it, it would be probably a cheaper way to do it because everything that's below you, the silver, the water, the heat, the electric and everything. So if they fund that kitchen over in that corner there, and he's still working on it, like other issues in the firehouse, that may be an easier concept than taking it from where it is now, sticking it over to where the bar is, because there you have a bunch of logistics with the plumbing and heat, the hot water and ventilation and all that stuff. So, I mean, he's still working on it. He's trying to get it to where it's more, I guess, easier to see than what's on the paper right now, because he's got a draft and it's, you know, it looks good, but it's still in the works. And just like where the new executive stuff is going to go on that other side, he's got some ideas with that. We had some ideas that we proposed to him to maybe make that room, instead of just cutting it up a little bit, make it a little bit larger and extending the wall a little bit farther, so we'd have more room for the executive people and our other room there we could have for our little meetings, you know. And then you guys, if you guys came over, you could use the big room. And after he opens everything up, gets rid of the bar, gets rid of the cooler and all that, that could open that space up to possibly 100 people for that room could be used for.
Are any of the savings that we achieved by moving the kitchen over the plumbing and the electrical, are any of them negated by the fact that we got to do reach in the roof now?
Well, then I think it's only gonna be one penetration. Ed's still working on all that stuff, and he's still working on all the numbers for the outside grading and all that. Because when I asked him the question about, is that grading outside stuff going to still be around that 350 or 400,000? He said, we're working on the numbers, and he doesn't think so. He thinks it's gonna be more. So he is sharpening his pencil. He's, you know, working with his team to really get a finer line there. Bob was there for the meeting, and you know, nothing is set in stone right now. I think when he comes back with this next set, we just have to really look at it again, pick it apart, and make sure before we make a decision with this kitchen, that's what we want to do. You know, because he's had that. I know there was at one time talked about an outside pavilion and all that, but he's incorporated that concrete work that we have there right now, where the 911 memorial was going to go, shift that to the left and use that open patio there. If we wanted to have an outside patio, we could have it right there instead of making another building or whatever out there.
And move the memorial more over towards where the stone is?
Right, over more towards where the entrance for where the addition was put in. Like if you look at the building, you go to the right,
Both to the right. okay.
maybe take that corner and canopy it or whatever. But he's working on that, and Eddie McMahon was there, and they were just talking about that 911 memorial also, so.
Forward to seeing you transition. What do you got in mind?
I got one here, I got some notes on and stuff, but he may be able to send it to you electronically. I don't know where he is with the second,
Next provision.
yeah,
Generation.
and I thought it was like a 2.5, 3 hour meeting. I thought it was a good meeting with a lot of information. And with some of the questions that our folks had, I think we're starting to narrow the project, you know what I mean? So to get it more in line to the money that you guys want to spend and what our department is looking for.
Very good.
So,
Nick, were you looking for anything?
No,
No.
no, sounds like can't.
Anything to add? Or?
No, I still haven't had a chance to go look at,
Bob was there, so if he's got any comments for you guys, because he was there for, a lot of the meetings where he had these was on meetings, so.
Sean, what do you got?
Yeah, I was at the meeting as well. The one issue that I asked Ed to consider is when they remodel downstairs, like he was taking the shower, one of the controls was a shower. Like we really need to probably keep a shower because at some time we might have paid staff that's going to be there 24/7. So we need to do that and keep in mind we're going to need sleeping quarters, down there. So he was trying to figure that in. And then I did reach out to the surveyor, and I got the digital copy of the survey, and I emailed it to Ed today, and he said he was able to open it, so we got that done.
Bob, did you do anything to add?
Nope, that's,
Good.
okay.
Any board members got further questions on the matter? Good report, thank you. All right, president's reports. Let's see, we did the first last month. We'll do mine stuff first this month. What you got?
I have no report, so easy month.
Each month. Well, that was a tough one. Any questions for the president?
Vice President.
I'm sorry, President sit-in. Steve, what do you got for appraisal?
I have no report this month.
You might set a record.
Let the record show. All right, thank you both. Got the minutes in front of us from the last month. Everybody's had a chance to look them over in the Dropbox. Any questions on the minutes? Comments, questions? Is there then a motion to approve?
I'll make it.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? We have minutes. That's treasurer's report, please.
Here comes the bank recs for you to review and sign off on. You should have a copy of the treasurer's report in your digital Dropbox or paper copy in your folder. The money market account had a reconciled balance of $1,005,602.99. Of that amount, $350,299 is for the general fund. $225,771 is for capital reserve equipment. $377,324 is for capital reserve building. And $52,207 is for repairs, capital reserve repairs. We earned $9.38 on the money market for the month, totaling $66.44 of interest for the year. Checking account had a reconciled balance of $126,342.56, earning 70 cents worth of interest, $8 interest for the year. The subsequent supporting documentation is our copies of the bank reconciliation and the bank statements. Followed up by a list of all the checks that were approved and cut, dollar amounts, the payee, check number, the date of those checks, check number, the year for August. Sorry about that. And then finally, we have the actual to budget comparison for the year, and for the expenditures, we're under budget through August. We have about $300,000 left for the remainder of the year.
Without going through each of the budget categories, is there any surprises there that we need to be worried about or concerned about?
tell you later.
Okay. Depending on how much we spend tonight, okay. All right, any other questions on the treasurer's report? Is there a resolution to approve? One. Made, seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Chris. Brian. Hi. Rich. Hi. Nick.
Aye.
Hi, Dan.
Correspondence, please. Oh, I'm sorry. You got
Invoices.
what? I'm sorry about
Invoices.
invoices, yes. Same, that's part of the same report. Invoices, Brian, you had a chance to review the invoices, correct?
Yep, went through them, I'm pretty much all the standards. The fire first stuff came in, obviously the big ones, the Denari Chevrolet bill. And seal coating in there, so it was an expensive month, but all legit.
There was a late one that came in from Lynn Kane for $180.
Do my apologies, I did see that.
Yeah, $180. So that isn't on the list.
I did sign up.
What's not on the list?
Yeah, so it's
They
gonna
Should
make
have
us
just total.
All right, then consider the, you need approval on these.
resolution.
Resolution to approve the bills.
Adding the $180.
Adding $180,000 and refining the total appropriately. Resolution made, resolution seconded, any discussion, all in favor? Or no, you gotta do roll call.
Chris.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Nick. Dan.
Got this. Now we do correspondence.
Received KeyBank FDIC insurance assets ending in 8/31/22. We received a copy of a letter that was sent to the technology park from Supervisor Joe Bott. It was about the trail system. Received the Association of Fire Districts Capital Area Fall Training Workshop notification be held on November 12th. Again, the Association of Fire Districts New York, the Fire District Affairs Bolton, August and September. And we just received the claim payment letter from VFIS regarding the damage to truck 42, authorizing that we're going to receive a check in the amount is a little bit over $5,000. There is a $500 deductible for that. And the quote has already been sent back to Vandermolen so they can order the parts.
Good.
And nothing sent.
Any questions on any of the correspondence? Moving right along. Old business. We've got a quote in our inbox from, or in our Dropbox from Clean Concepts and Maintenance, Clifton Park. Bob, you want to?
Yep, that's the company, window cleaning. They're not necessarily affiliated with our regular janitorial company, but they work close together on projects. And their price is pretty close to what they did it the last time. So they really didn't raise and increase it much at all. The closest proposal that we had was like about 10% more, and that was a company out of Rensselaer. And I was telling Rich before, earlier today, that when we go with the same company and then we try and solicit quotes from other companies that we keep going back to but not using, it gets harder and harder to get them to want to quote it. So this is a pretty good price. The only thing we have to do here at DeFreeseville is we normally rent the scissor lift from True Value. It's much cheaper for us to do that than it is for this company to rent it and bring it and do everything else. So we rent the scissor lift for them.
We need to do anything special with insurance?
No, they've signed a contract with us before. I mean, should I get that updated because they're going to be working in high areas? Yes, I do. Yep.
It takes us one high fall.
Yeah, I'll get that.
$1 billion workman's comp case.
Okay.
Well, then we consider a resolution to approve the to have apples window washing for the 1365 quoted.
17 hour total. There's another one below.
Yeah,
Oh.
wine skills in.
I thought you said-
We didn't do the engine room
Oh,
at
yeah.
Wine-Skill. The
Okay.
current cleaner does all the windows upstairs, but he
Okay.
doesn't do the engine room. So
All right,
that's what this
that's
one.
fine. Total them up then, yeah. Is there a resolution to do both? Made, seconded, any discussion? Any discussion? Dan, anything? Roll call vote, please. Chris. Aye.
Brian. Aye. Rich. Aye. Nick.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye. Great. Switch to new business here. We got the I am responding renewal agreement in front of us. Bob and I talked a little bit about that today, but Bob, you want to brief the board on it?
Yep, this is, our renewal is coming up. The last time we did it, we did a 3-year renewal. That's what the board has been doing. And as you can see from on like page 3, you can do various options. What we've always done is just the base fee, and we've done a system add-on and a telephone. We don't do anything else other than that. And what that allows is people to call in, okay, during business hours. I am told that at some point, Rensselaer County may actually be providing I am responding countywide. So, but that, we don't know when that could take place. But this is the annual cost of $945 a year.
Should we, if you think there's a chance the county might be providing this for free, do you think we should just do it 1 year?
Well, yeah, I mean,
You follow, I mean, just.
yeah, I don't know contractually how that would work out if the county picked it up, like say on year 3 and I am responding says, well, you still have a year on your contract. But I would think that county's gonna have to try and work that into their negotiations,
If they think of it.
right?
But I mean, if
All these agencies have 3, 500.
Right.
It's gonna be.
Lee, you got some knowledge on that? Got your hand going?
I'll just say this, the county's been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
So that's where I'll just put my comment. We've been talking about it for years.
Upset.
to do 1 year versus 3, it's costing an extra $112.
Mhm.
I think it's almost safer to do the 1 year. And the worst case scenario is you're at $112 versus the county does do something, and hopefully a year from now, we have a better idea.
Mhm.
And if they don't do it, we're at $112. If they do it, well, we didn't waste 2,000.
945.
Or whatever it is, you know what I mean?
And trying to fight with them over,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a huge, that would be my.
Yeah, they're gonna prorate it, they're never gonna divide it by 3. They're gonna-
Right.
They're gonna weigh it heavy on the first year. So what's the board's feeling? It's kind of, you're in favor of the 1 year?
I would, and then we just, maybe 8 months into this, we try to put a little pressure on the county, like, you think you're gonna go for this or you're not.
You do the technology, you represent the technology. So
But I would just think, for the sake of $112, I would suggest going with the 1 year.
Anybody else? Consider that a resolution to do this for 1 year. Dan, you want to make that resolution?
So resolved.
Resolution, any second? Second by Brian. Any further discussion? Roll call, vote, please.
Chris.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Rich. Nick.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Let's take care of it. We'll jump into the chief's reports. We got Adam on the phone. We'll jump right into his report.
Richard, one last quick thing. I noticed this goes through November 15th. So for our current contract.
Yep.
So if for some reason we find out, by the next meeting, we can always revisit this.
And you don't have to send this, you don't have to process this right away. William, maybe you can ask the county between now and then, see if they've got any, tell them we discussed it, we'd like to know what their intentions are.
Yeah, the last meeting I had with them a couple weeks ago, they were talking about it. They talked about it the year before, and the year
Okay.
before that, so that's, like I said, they've been talking about it for a while.
I'm gonna text the deputy emergency manager.
Okay.
He's the one who told me recently that,
Well, I still
that's
think
the
this-
only reason I
I
brought it
still
up.
think this is. good,
Yeah.
Because we end up losing $900 if we're gonna be doing that.
Cool. Good point. Now we're ready for that. Chief, it's all yours.
All right, good evening, gentlemen. You should have my stats for the month. So I won't bore you reading them.
Yep.
And then we have a few purchases with the help of Mr. Durivage. Thank you, Bob.
Adam, I just want to let the board know that I just sent them an email. Went to the all district on EMS equipment. We've been waiting for a quote. We've been going back and forth with the vendor, and he just sent it at like 4 o'clock today. I didn't see it until we started the meeting. If he'd sent it earlier, I would have included it. It's for EMS equipment, and I mean, I can run out, and also I could print a copy for you right now.
What are we looking at in total?
Well, the total is $1,238.22. And they've been working on this EMS equipment for a while now. And Adam just finalized it, gave it to me. I sent it out to our contact at McKesson. He had a bunch of questions, and obviously it had to go back to Adam's EMS team, and we just got it back. He'd rather not wait another month because a lot of this is to replenish a lot of supplies that they're in really dire need of. Is that correct, Adam?
Yeah, just to remind the board, earlier in the year, we had purchased that cabinet specifically for the EMS equipment. This was supposed to be the second half of that, but you know, as with everything, it went back and forth several different ways, and now this is finally the good product. So.
Yeah, there looks out of line. It's like just a lot of expendable supplies and some that are have expiration dates on it. Probably need to, if the saline and the burn kits, they're probably just as a.
Yeah, literally everything expires now, so.
It all expires.
So there's that one for consideration. The next one would be tires for Squad 4-2. The truck's 10 years old. It has the original tires on it. The fronts are getting kind of choppy. And I'd like to get that taken care of before we get into the winter months. The one question I had on here was, it says federal excise tax. So
We have to pay that.
that's what we have to pay, right?
Yeah, we
Okay.
have to pay it.
But that's for all 6 tires, for $2,967.30. And that's the same exact tires that are on the truck, factory spec. I didn't hear what he said.
He asked you if you had any other report.
Yep. Obviously you guys got the information for truck 4-2's damages and the accident review board's results. And then you have the estimate repairs for that. I know we have hose testing scheduled for this month coming up. So we'll see what comes of that. And then the other item I had for you guys is the Rensselaer County Emergency Service Memorial Service is scheduled for Sunday, October 2nd, 3 p.m. at the Bulmer Technology Center at Hudson Valley. So on the wine and skill side of the house, we have 3 members that are going to be honored. Charles Decker Jr., Carol Guiney, and Charles Rockwell Jr. And if there's any other questions for me, that's all I have.
All right, we'll take up the purchase when we get William, and then we'll do them all together, I guess.
Okay.
I get.
Chief, what do you got first?
Bonnie submitted a report to you good folks. Purchases, I had a couple items, requested 8 survivor lights since we got a batch of new interior firefighters, get recently qualified, give them some new equipment. Hose straps for a standpipe kit, which was apparently, you forgot that earlier in the year when we purchased all the main hardware, so that was kind of my fault on that. And quotes for new tires for Rescue 9. The fronts are especially just shot or balloon tires, so they wear out fairly quickly, but we'd like to get those done before the snow flies off. So, as I said before, a few minutes ago, I had a meeting with the county in regards to text messaging and other things going on, and one of the comments was I am responding also as part of that. So we had some concerns about getting text notifications for better notes for calls. When we get a service call, what is the service call to cat a tree, power line down or whatever. So the county's told us they're working on that. So hopefully we'll be hearing from them soon. Car one's windshield, I submitted a report to you folks about the damage from the tree branch that fell on it. We had a firefighter injured up at Heights during the structure fire, just rolled his ankle, he's back to service already. And we did a good job at 700 Bloomingdale Drive, the members that turned out. So that was the second round that we went up there for that. And now the building's been taken down by the landowner, so we shouldn't be having issues with that property anymore. Proposed committee members for your long range committee that I didn't submit them to you in writing, but I had Assistant Chief Galligan, firefighter Steer, and Captain Slofsky for the long range committee. Just to let you know, PJ will be part of the county memorial, past president, backhoe. So we'll be having somebody for honor guard for that. And the new utility 9 obviously came in today, looks pretty sharp. So that's all what I got.
Okay. Questions for William? So we've got some purchases to consider here. Got the EMS purchase for actually district for work on that. Then tires for Squad 4-2, tires for Rescue 9, some standpipe straps for DFD, and some string lights for DFD. Any questions on any of those purchases? No questions? Consider then a resolution to pass all of them. So made, second, roll call, please.
Chris.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Nick. Oh, Rich.
I knew he was trying to mess me up. Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Sorry.
All right, so we got the purchases taken care of. Before,
Yeah, I just wanted to inform the chief and the board. So the tires for Rescue 9, it may take a little bit because that particular size tire, everybody's having a super hard time getting that. So that could take upwards to a month for them to get the tires.
Okay. Yeah, it's just better that we get it ahead of time.
Well, yeah, definitely. That's, I don't think it will. It's just, he said, they have like 300 on order. Some weeks they'll get 10. It's just, it is what it
Those
is.
are those wider,
The front ones are, yeah.
wide tires. Yeah. Okay, committee reports. We'll move right into the apparatus and equipment. Already mentioned the new utility 9 came in about noon time today. I would encourage everybody to want to take a peek at it later if they have ordered already. Looks pretty good. I will tell you, it drives nice. I drove on the way over here. nice ride. That's taken care of. Thanks, Chris, for the effort in finding that and starting to spin the deal up for us. It worked out well. We do have a committee meeting scheduled for tomorrow night. Chief has asked that we move it from 6:30 to 6. And I said I'd bring up other members of tonight to see if that they would be available. Chris, you gonna have any trouble making 6 tomorrow night, or?
I'm just double checking right now.
Check
I
it out.
know there's open houses tomorrow, Maple Park, so. My kid's open house, but I think it gets over with around 6, so. I'm just.
Okay, so you down there, all right. Jeff, you're in the back, you're good for 6. Well, can you let Brandon know? And I'll try and stop in the morning and see Phil. Okay. Let Phil know. He's probably in bed right now, so. So we'll do that tomorrow night, and then we'll move us forward. We did, oh, that's right, Steve's sitting right there. You good with 6? I'm good for 6. Good. I didn't have the list in front of me, I'm sorry. We'll move forward on that. We do have a real rough preliminary specification, but as I said, when I distributed it, it's better to start with a blank piece of paper. It gives us something to cross off and X through and circle and work from rather than just start from scratch. So we'll start working on it tomorrow night. The other part of this discussion is the Standing Fire District Apparatus Review Committee. This is a recommendation that came out of the Long Range Planning Committee that the district establish a standing committee whose job is to review annually the apparatus so that we avoid these, well, it's been a few years since we looked at it, oh my God, we got to do something right now. Or just the opposite where, gee, we had this projection that we were going to have to spend money on this year, and lo and behold, we don't, or we don't have to spend as much. So we're trying to give this will give the district officers and the commissioners both a better idea of where we are on the long range plan for upgrade, replacement, rehab, et cetera. And that gives our fiscal people the same annual review rather than do it on a wider stance. So it was suggested that the committee consist of 2 commissioners, 2 chiefs, 1 for each station, and then 4 firefighters, 2 for each station, one of which had to be an active driver. We've gotten the recommendations from the Freesville. I'm sorry, Adam, I forgot to ask you for your recommendations when we had you for the report. You still on there?
I don't have names for you tonight, Rich. My apologies.
Okay. As soon as you can get them to me, get them to me because I don't want it to just be a consensus vote. I want the board to contemplate them and review them and board approval on the 6 names we put together. So we can hold on that another month, but if you can get that to me, I think that would be a good thing.
Okay.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on that? Chris, anything to add on apparatus? New needs? Seeing anything?
No, just that we did have that one person who was interested.
Yes. Yeah, and I mentioned that in the report that following last month's meeting from the Zoom, Dan Wilson had expressed interest in being one of the Lions School side of the house. So, and I put that in that email to you guys, so that Adam should have that. Building and grounds, Ryan, Chris.
Just at so did you get a hold of them about that water stripping on the side? Or did you
No,
look at it?
I'll nail it up. It's a couple nails.
Perfect. That's the only thing was the water stripping on.
One of the doors,
One of the
right
doors in
in
the
front
back.
of Sanford.
The overhead, one of the overhead doors.
Yeah, that, it always rolls off. Even my garage doors, I gotta do the same thing.
Yeah.
Get longer nails.
Ryan, anything?
Well, the seal coating was done. I didn't get a chance to see how it looked around the Lions School at their station, but everything over there.
It did. The North Greenwich parking lot was going. The ambulance was the only thing that was done.
Okay.
But they were there until like the first night until it was like 11 o'clock.
They were here over several different days.
They were out here working with headlights one night here.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep.
And cooler. And speaking to them, it's not just cooler, it's you can't get people.
Yeah.
You can't get enough people to come to work in the morning, like every other business.
Bob does have a service calling for the boiler one, just the lockout issue. So they're coming Wednesday to fix that. And got trouble alarm with the CO detector on the north side of the bank. So Johnson Controls will be coming to look at that, but, you know, bottom, when you looked at it, the expiration date, basically, they're good for 5 to 7 years normally, and we're on year 6, so it's throwing trouble alarm. So it's maybe a good time also, like smoke detectors and CO detectors, both stations, they usually have a 5 to 7 year service life.
Do they need anything special to get to them, or what I'm thinking is, if we're gonna have those scissor lifts here, do we need to share the scissors lift?
Yeah, well, the primary thing right now is we have a trouble alarm that we can't clear because of the CO detector, so we gotta get them here to at least fix the trouble alarm, and maybe at the same time, we'll just get the 3 CO detectors here replaced because they're outdated. And then, you know, maybe what we could do is, I'll talk to the building commissioners and,
Our alarm expert in the back is shaking his head.
yeah, and we can, right, we can kind of maybe come up with a plan on that.
I'm assuming, that's the wrong term to use, that when they do like, you know, their annual inspection of the fire alarm systems, they're checking the life of these detectors. I know ours,
Now,
that we want to do, I can't speak.
We know that there's anticipated dates on them. Are those dates, are they like NFPA or some other standard stamped in?
I usually use the manufacturer that put it on there, and most people don't even read the box, when you buy a school detector or whatever, it says right on there, good for 5 to 7
Right,
years.
so at the end, we should pull them down and replace them. Right. Okay. So it's an expected cost, I guess. Hi, Eddie. Please add some intricate technical knowledge.
The CO is correct. The 5 to 6 year shelf life, they have come up with some other technologies. We put a monitoring module, a conventional style CO, gives you about a 10-year lifespan, so about 5 to 7. So those are probably $500-600 a hit, each one of those CO detectors. Smoke alarms in an industrial commercial building like this, you get annually, it should be annually tested. So with an annual test, you can ride out the smoke detector for a good 15 years.
How much did you say those COs were?
Almost $500.
That's the one with the monitoring.
Oh, okay.
I'm changing them left to right in your general, same thing. As soon as we change one, we're gonna change 3. We buy 3. But from getting, if you do an annual testing, you're allowed to extend your life of your equipment.
You know, if they're doing like the sensitivity testing, and all that stuff.
Yeah. But the other side of it is like a residential, they actually have a hard date, right? And then that's a 10-year.
Thank you. I appreciate the technical information. Anything else, Brian?
Nope.
District personnel, Dan?
Do not have anything like that.
Brian, you got anything on that? No, good. No. Finance, insurance, audit, Dan and Nick.
Oh, sorry, I was late to the budget. I have a serpentine belt broke on a vehicle. Anyway, so no.
We made a recommendation to post we have to adopt the budget here in a few minutes.
I got a few.
Adopt a tentative, tentative or preliminary? Proposed. I know there's specific language we have to use. And we're looking at a 15 cent per thousand tax increase, which still keeps us below the 2% cap. But that kind of helps us take that stepping stone we talked about with the long range plan. So,
All right.
anybody else got anything?
That's usually we do the resolution to adopt the proposed budget for $1,519,404.
What did you do with that? 1519, what?
1519404.
Okay. Very good. Resolution to approve a proposed budget of $1,519,404. Chris makes the resolution. Second by Nick. Any discussion? Probably, of all the things we do tonight, this is probably the one we should, of course, we beat it to death with.
Sean, have you looked at the assessed valuation? The total taxable assessed valuation for the town? I mean, they're building stuff on every corner here.
Yeah, I got the latest.
So you could have an increase in tax, de facto tax.
Yeah, we're kind of double dipping.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, we do have an increase in the assessed value, but there's also a rate increase.
as well. It's not big, that's the thing. The increase is less than, my math is terrible off the top of my head, but 2.5 mil,
2.6.
2.6 mil, yeah. Which, I mean, that's, in a town this size with the amount of construction going on, I don't think it would be significant. Of course, we're only at, we were trying to remember the number earlier. We're only at about a 40% assessment rate.
Equalization rate?
Equalization rate, yeah. Long history, town does not want to take on a reassessment. They haven't for years because
1980 was the last.
was it
1980?
1980?
Stick your head in the sand.
They don't want to touch it. They don't want to touch it.
We have Chick-fil-A.
We're gonna Chick-fil-A it off.
You could change that.
But regardless. All right, so we got the resolution. Any other discussion on it? Roll call vote, please, Sean.
Chris? Aye. Brian?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Very good. We'll take further action on that next month, right?
Right, so we need to motion to have the public hearing for the budget on Tuesday, October 18th.
For Tuesday, October 8th, I want to make
In the,
not
not to say you guys are free from this, but in the past, I've done it by myself. And I think last year, Brian, you came, right?
well, that's right, it's just a public hearing.
Yeah, I just-
We take no action that night.
Right,
I just accept public comment.
read off the budget.
As it is, I'm scheduled to be in town anyway, so consider a motion to establish a meeting for Tuesday, October 18, 6:30 PM for purpose of a budget hearing. Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? That carries.
And then the last one would be is our next month meeting is on Columbus Day, so usually we move it to Tuesday.
That would be the 10th? No, yeah, 11th. Yeah, we'll do it
To the 11th.
11th would be the Just be out of town that day, but it is what it is. I'll see what I can do to change my schedule. Move the meeting to the, motion to move the meeting to the 11th. So moved. Motion made, motion seconded, somebody? Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? That's taken care of.
One thing, while you're there, your budget hearing is after your October meeting. Final budget has to be approved before.
Oh, yeah.
the 4th. So you're gonna need to have a special meeting.
Why don't we, should we do the October meeting till after the budget hearing?
Well,
We've done that in the past, but that's caused problems paying bills.
well, we did that for a number of years. Just the last couple of years, we did not move the Columbus Day Monday monthly meeting to the Tuesday, the 18th for some reason. I don't know why. But if we used to just have them both the same day. So we had the open public session, public hearing, and then right after that, we had the monthly meeting, and then we could. Thank you.
Does anybody see a reason we can't do that rather than drag everybody in 2 nights? 2 more nights?
So have it both on Tuesday?
Both on Tuesday, the
Yeah,
18th?
on the 18th.
Do both on Tuesday, the 18th?
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'd rather not miss 2 drills.
Yeah, that's true. They're gonna be missing drills that way too, the other way. All right, then let's rescind that motion to rescind the previous motion and to reestablish that monthly meeting for 7 PM on the 18th following the budget hearing. I'll make that motion.
So we're starting at what, 6:30?
Budget hearing at 6:30 and then the regular at 7. That makes
Well,
more sense.
usually it's immediately following, so.
Or immediately, yeah.
If you schedule both at the same time, you can open your meeting, go to your hearing.
Yeah.
and keep some continuity if there's no interest.
So just, we get the usual cast of suspects out in the audience that make sure you come to all these meetings. We're moving everything to the 18th for October is what the action we're about to take. We've got a motion, we got a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposition? We're doing it all the 18th. All right. Let me make a note of that before I forget that. Screw that up. October 18th. All right. Long range planning, Ryan, Nick. You can report back to your committee if you talk to anybody or if there's any emails still flying around that we're chipping away at all the recommendations. Making progress, chipping away. Policies, procedures, and membership, Brian and Nick. Yeah, was a suggestion, Brian.
Yeah, it's just, we're just, several years ago, for those who aren't aware, adopted a policy where members get reimbursed for gym activities, I think it was 30 visits within the calendar year, that kind of thing. COVID hit, a lot of people started working out at home. So one of the members did approach and using Peloton, which is a home workout solution or whatever. And it's got a monthly membership fee. It actually provides, you're able to print out better documentation that you get from the gym. And if the members, you basically assess members to show, yeah, I checked in 30 times. I checked and got my kid off over Wednesday. So, the member asked about it. We could add that as an eligible vendor, so to speak. And then I don't see a reason why not. It'd be the same reimbursement rate, you'd be able to show the same proof as a normal gym. And you have an example in the card, just, shows workouts.
I know at one point before, somebody asked about home gyms and home workout equipment, et cetera. And the reason that it wasn't considered was because there was no way of monitoring it. It sounds like there's a way of monitoring it.
It's like a legitimate printout. It'll show you how long, the date, time, down to how many calories you burned, for example.
So it has a way of knowing that it's not your kid getting on it.
It's a membership fee. They pay monthly. It's like $40 a month, but obviously the limit's 200. But it's a whole actual printout, which I can go get an example if you can see it. But
We just did a policy elsewhere on this same thing with it. Of course, it doesn't know that it's not your kid or your wife, or anything like everybody. But I can share that with you if you want to see.
Kind of long. I'm in support of this, by the way. When we implemented this policy, it's probably close to 10 years ago. We specifically said this isn't, people working out at home in their gym. But I mean, we didn't have all this virtual stuff. This, stuff has changed.
Well, this is a supervised plan.
Correct. But along your lines, because I do think this is going to come up, and I do think we need to think outside the box. You may have the person now that has their weights, has their treadmill in their gym, and they're paying for a subscription on their Apple Watch or another watch that you can truly monitor their physical fitness activity. And I think we should be encouraging that. So I'm in support of this, but I think we should also look at even expanding a little bit more.
Beyond the Peloton name.
Yeah.
And say.
Where you can document it. Dave Wilson and I could be working out in his gym, in his garage, with our Apple Watches on, and prove that
We need video.
And the likelihood of that is.
a lot of curls.
No, but in all
You're
seriousness.
saying with the same word.
16-ounce girls, I do a lot of it.
So, if you could come up with some of the wording, Terry, I think we should not only include Peloton, but in fairness to the members that are they're going out for a run. It's proved right here,
Yeah, I think we do need to still keep boundaries on the box.
Correct.
And
So
somebody goes for a walk with their wife 2 nights a week, I don't think that's quite the food.
well, but even that, I think you could have a 60-year-old person that's what their level of physical fitness is, and they're out. I'm just saying. I mean, you got to be careful.
I could use it, I know.
Right, but I mean, if we're going to start expanding this to home and virtual options, we gotta just be, so I would suggest
For taking a look at that.
we approve Peloton tonight, and I don't mind, I know I'm not on the committee, but I can talk with Terry and Brian. Technology, and try to come up with some wording so it kind of covers Apple Fitness, Samsung, you know what I mean?
I'm just curious, I never really thought about this that much. Is this like if you make low SAP, it's a benefit that you can?
Yeah, I mean, the district's always had a benefit.
We did it with the monitors and.
We've always had this for the gyms. If somebody,
Yeah,
if
is
somebody
it
has a
something that you need to make low SAP to get reimbursed for this? Or is this just anybody that's a member?
I'd have to go back and look at the policy. I don't remember.
I don't know.
Because it's nice to give that, but if the person's not active doing something here, it's kind of like that, just a freebie that.
I see what you're saying. So like somebody who doesn't meet any of their other requirements, so suddenly get their gym membership.
We do the same thing with the application for the.
Right.
It might be in the policy.
I'd have to go back and look at it.
I tried to look, Bob, I tried to look in the Dropbox, in that folder, and it said it was empty, you know,
Which one?
like the general policies.
There's a separate Dropbox strictly for
Probably
that.
got the old link. For the
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I don't know, I'll have to
Well,
look at
anyway,
it.
did you make a motion? I'll second for the Peloton.
And then we'll go add the others.
And then next month, I'll work with you, we can add.
All right, so we got a motion.
Verbiage to expand it.
Yeah. Do we have a motion on the floor yet for,
Make the motion.
motion for Peloton?
I'll second.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, that's done. And you guys are gonna take a look at the other technologies moving forward. Good stuff. LoSAP, Nick and Brian. Nick?
I'll just gotta figure out what's going on.
Yeah, we'll figure out what's going on now. I will check on that. We'll get that, we'll get Alan number. Special committees, business operations and technology. Back to Nick and Dan, there's something, I know here for the AT&T FirstNet account.
Yeah, a few things before I get to AT&T. I'll ask Bob to jump in here too, but Alpine Software, I know Bonnie, J.O. have been training. We're gonna switch over to that October 1st. Correct, Bob? And Eclipse is working on replacing some switches in the IT room that are defective, which I'll be honest, I don't really know much about.
Yeah, we had an outage and it was due to the switches. I mean, we've been in the station now over 6 years. We're gonna start seeing that. So they've been working on trying to clean up some of the switches that all the circuits go in, the computer circuits go into. And, you know, we're gonna have to buy a couple 48 port switches and things like that.
Normal upgrades.
It's just they only last 5 to 7 years. If you get 5 to 7 years, that's kind of pretty good.
I think it's been a month or two since we've heard any problems related to being able to print on the other side of town. Is that completely all resolved and put to bed now?
I believe it is.
Good, good.
All right, and then cell phones. So this is primarily referring to agency paid phone, district paid phones, but this is really a good benefit to all members. For anybody that's got Verizon, which are all the district's own cell phones, it's horrible. It's been absolutely horrendous, probably for the last 6 months to a year.
Coverage, you mean?
Coverage. And you know what? A lot of customer service concerns. I've been the Verizon account manager for DeFreesville Fire Department and the district for probably 25 years. And when Jill Reynolds, Caddy, our rep for the longest time, left, it's just gone downhill. The reps change, sometimes monthly, it seems like. But the bigger issue is the reception. Around Belltop School, once you hit the old town highway garage, or the old police station, I mean, it's essentially not usable. A lot of individual members have left. I hear a lot of concerns out in the county. I was kind of getting fed up. I kept calling Verizon. They found records of my calls from 4 or 5 years ago, kind of getting a roundabout with kind of my school hat on. I know it's a huge concern with no cell phone service up near Belltop. And at the same time, I needed a new phone. So Bob and I have been working with FirstNet. I probably won't really describe it right, but AT&T has the FirstNet contract, which I think is put out, and Steve might be able to jump in here too, by the Department of Commerce. But essentially, they have built a communications network dedicated to first responders. And there's different tiers. So if it's an agency paid phone, we're like the top priority. And if it gets busy, we get top priority. Allegedly, we have that also with Verizon, but they also have this band 14. And the way AT&T described it to me, it's like everybody's on the same highway, but the FirstNet is almost like the high occupancy vehicle lane, like we're priority. So we opened an account, and I figured Bob and I could be the guinea pig. So if it doesn't work, everybody isn't suffering. We opened the account. I switched over last Tuesday, I think it was. I had 0 issues with cell phone coverage. Customer service is great. The other nice thing for the district paid phones, you can go into the store and get service, ask questions. You can't with Verizon. Nobody will touch it because it's a government-owned account. So we've got currently 8 people on our account. And we don't all have to switch. So if you're pleased with Verizon and the fire district paying your bill, you don't have to do anything. It is a little bit cheaper because the $39.99 a month also includes the hotspot. So we don't need to pay the extra $5 a month if you want to be able to use like your iPad when you're somewhere. If your phone is already fully paid for, I would encourage you to consider switching over. As a reminder, regardless of who you're with, you know, if you're a chief, a commissioner, staff, we provide what's free. If you want a phone that costs money, you have to reimburse the fire district. The other thing that we're looking at, right now, we pay on our cell phone bill $11.40 a month insurance. The Apple Care, if you pay by the month, it's $9.99. If you pay for 2 years up front, it comes out to like eight something a month. Which is, you know, a better deal. For the members that don't have an agency, you know, a district-owned phone, they can also get the same pricing. Now, there's taxes and everything. But, you know, if you're a member of Wine and Scale or DeVriesville, you can get the rate at $39.99 a month. Plus you pay the taxes and fees. And then if there's other members in your family, I don't know all the rates off the top of my head. They're not on FirstNet, but they get 25% off. And if anybody's interested in that, I can give you the contact information for the manager down at AT&T. So there's really no action. I mean, us opening an account isn't any different than us opening an account at AutoZone. So you don't really need to do anything.
But if somebody wants to switch over, they need to start coordinating with Bob.
Yeah, talk to me or Bob. Both of us are account managers. You know, Bob would probably do more of the day-to-day stuff, but I don't mind initially hooking you up with the person. I know Bob's got a bunch of other stuff on his plate, even if you just want to ask questions.
At one time, and I'm going back to when Nextel was still a thing.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at? Yeah, I'm old. We had this discussion on the board, at the board level, and the only service that would work in that tight main area corridor was Verizon. And that's why they didn't want to go to Nextel and they didn't want to go to AT&T. It was because they were absolutely dependent on Verizon along Main Avenue because of the way that hill is and everything else. Is that still the case, or is AT&T a thing over there now, or?
It's not necessarily the case. The police department has switched everything over to AT&T because of how bad the Verizon service was throughout the town.
So AT&T works over there?
That's what I'm
So if we
told.
supply district phones, the district-owned phones to people, and you might as well, not handicapped.
I had AT&T and we switched from AT&T to T-Mobile because the service went downhill in the main ave corridor. And I live up on the hill.
How long ago?
We just switched last year.
So do we reimburse you for your phone? And that's all.
That wouldn't change, that wouldn't change.
No.
Yeah.
But no, I got terrible service ever since 5G came out.
You have AT&T?
Aren't you one?
No problems.
But like I said, it's corridor, you know, he's on the opposite side of the hill, probably gets.
No, you can both. That's crazy.
It's Dan Wilson's on the fire district. Well, anyway,
He's also got,
what's that?
I think, yes.
He's on ours. Well, like if you want to switch to FirstNet, and I would suggest you go to the website because there's definitely advantages, but if you're on a family plan, it might kind of screw things up.
It does.
So I could give you the name of the manager down there, maybe you can ask questions.
It does.
So anyway, it's an option.
We don't need to take any action on this, right?
No.
That's great information.
Well, if
Thank you.
your phone's working and ain't broke, maybe you just stick with what you got. But if you're frustrated, this is a good option.
Can you then respond to work on report?
Yeah, really. And I've been hearing more and more complaints. I've been hearing complaints from people with both the Verizon and anybody that switched over to Spectrum phone, because the Spectrum phones are all Verizon based.
Right.
They buy their hours.
My personal phones, my kids use our Spectrum, but for $29.99 a month, I just said, well, if you want to start paying the bill, you go whoever you want, but you're gonna have to deal with it, yeah.
All right, any questions for Dan on, Dan or Nick on business operations and technology? Thank you for the updates. Development plan review, Brian and Nick.
Went to the town board meeting where they were discussing the change in zoning for, probably better on the zoning stuff. I was kind of zoned out there at one point.
I can't think of the name, what's the name?
For the Secondary Commons. Sounds like it's getting referred back to the planning board. Earlier that day, I did meet with all three town building department members that afternoon. Bring up our concerns at, for it was the February meeting, which was a meeting with the developer, Morgan, I can't remember his last name. I was told by Bill with Mike Minor present that the district chief Burkhardt would be invited to a pre-construction meeting. The town has about 30 punch items on their little list of issues and concerns they have, anywhere from just basic alarm functioning to, are we going to ban e-bikes, storage and cars? So there's, anyway, long story short, we were told we were going to be invited to this pre-construction meeting. And I know Chairman Losvito of the planning board called me tonight. He's mentioned that he's reached out to the developer to try to facilitate this happening before the planning board even starts. He wants this out of the way before it gets to the planning board, basically. So I guess we'll just stand by, wait for them to reach out to set the meeting with us in the building department. I put some plans over your box, Nick, and add them on. I guess there's, from what Mark was saying, Losvito was saying, there's 4 apartment complex projects for Lions School side coming up. And obviously everybody knows Chick-fil-A news is out now, and it's just, yeah. So the big thing is just waiting on Quackenbury Commons for our meeting.
Yeah, pre-construction meeting is usually post approvals, pre-building permit. And that would be too late for us to have any real meeting plan. So, you know, I like Mark's idea. Hey, let's get with the developer before we even start putting more serious.
He's doing from his end to make sure that we definitely get the info.
Okay. Good. Good. Any questions for Brian or Nick on the development plan? Nick's got that one plan. I took a quick peek at it before the just before the meeting. It's pretty aggressive.
Interested in the pheasant? Yeah.
Paramedic operations. I don't have anything. Chris, you got anything?
I don't. Actually, I got one. You guys see that new building, rehab building down on next to Stewart's Report, the old on-call?
Yes.
You guys looked at it recently being built.
I've been taking a close look at it.
Chief Wilson there had a couple pictures just to kind of pass along to all your members. The original roof is still there. It's literally just trusses and plywood. So you're talking an 8-foot gap between the roofs. And literally, they just took the whole building and they wrapped it in plywood. So the brick is still there. Everything else that was originally there for that building is still there.
There's a good possibility that the original roof is below the roof that.
Yes.
So there may be 3 roofs there.
Yes, you're talking that the original building is still there. They just.
I remember that was a no more than a 20 by 24 foot hamburger joint. And it's an initial, when it was first the building, and then it's been grown out 3 or 4 times since. So, yeah, you see a lot of that. Good point, though.
I do apologize. I know it's not really development or anything, but you know, Dave, you were bringing up the building there behind the firehouse that's collapsing. I also spoke to Bill Miller about that. Right, he showed me there's now a service order. They're waiting for NYSEG/National Grid to come out to save the utilities before they can tear it down. But he mentioned, of course, if we get a call of anything that's collapsing off of it, maybe speed up National Grid getting out there. But right now, it's in National Grid's queue. So did follow up on that.
That's not National Grid, though, that's near the gas and electric.
Well, he said it was to National Grid and NYSEG. He just put it out there as a service calls to both, so.
It's been almost 3 years now.
Yeah, I brought it up and that's what they told me last week.
Hey, sorry, Rick, good stuff. Reopen the public session then. Anybody have anything? Dave, your hands are shot right up. What do you got?
Only because of the discussion on the buildings and stuff like that during council. I know that we have to meet or better the requirements for building codes
Who, the fire district?
for the town. Is there anything that we might start looking at recommending to the town, the building department, say, start looking at this double roofing, triple roofing, when you allow a building construction or tear down a building that couldn't collapse for a certain time limit? These other towns and these cities, they can tear stuff down within minutes after a problem. We have to fight for years. We still have one on 150. That the building is barely boarded up and it burns.
Well, that's on Zillow to be,
Yeah,
that's not for sale.
but I mean, that stuff should be handled a lot quicker and sooner. We had the same thing with the house on Winter Street.
We had the same
Sat
thing,
for years.
we had the same thing with the house on Bloomingdale.
Yeah, and I would think that the board, the fire district has a little bit of a clout to start setting out, saying, look at, you need to start looking at this hard and maybe change, put the requirements in for us.
There's supposedly, and this became a discussion, which we probably need to look into a little more. It became a discussion on scene the second night that this place down here burned, as to the extent of what a fire chief and or code enforcement could order immediately without the property owner being allowed a notified time for due process. And apparently there was either a change in code or a change in court decision. This kind of impacted how that's calculated out.
We know that part of the other issue is that, like, Bill Delaney, when that happened, we actually had a machine in there ripping the roof off and stuff to put the fire out.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's disputing it. If all firefighting operations are underway and, you need to have mechanized equipment in to maintain this health, safety, and welfare of the firefighters, there's no question about it. But it's like, when guys are rolling a hose and we're picking up and, one guy's nudging the other saying, we gotta get a bulldozer in there to get this knocked down. We just can't do that anymore, like a town used to be able to. I think the owner had, according to the information we were given that night, the owner needs to be given due process. And I don't know where that came from. You're probably won't.
No, I mean, I know you usually like, all these do this all the time. They get a fire, as long as the fire department for Albany had possession of the building, so to speak, they're still on scene operating. It's a danger to firefighters. They can do stuff to knock it down. I could go do something with the Department of State, see some change in the law, but
We built up, I think it was a court, wasn't it a court decision?
Something happened with some fire department in the state where they had some issue where they knocked down a building that was structurally sound or something. and-
But that's the difference, I think that's the key, but in this case, the first fire they had down there, I mean, I would argue from a code point of view, they didn't placard it, block it off, just to secure the building, big red X's, none of that was done down at 700. On the second fire, and I was on that, so I wasn't really involved in the conversation, but floor collapse, ceiling collapse, building not structure sound, tear it down. It seemed like a no-brainer in that case, but the first fire.
I think that's what we could have been doing that night, could have been something with somebody's second cousin's uncle's gardener read on Facebook,
I mean, obviously, they took it down the next day, so.
Yeah, it came down quick. It came down quick, so that was an issue. Second.
I'll see, I'll just fish around the process or any law.
Yeah, see if you can find out if there's any changes to that. But, yeah, David makes a good point. We need to stay on top of that.
Thank you.
Anything else that needs to come to the attention of the board? Anything else? Hearing, seeing none, consider a motion to adjourn until October 18th. Motion made, motion seconded, any discussion, all in favor? Aye. They do it right, Brian, I mean, it's all.
Hey, Brian,
Yes.
Eddie said he would go up and look at that panel with you, and he thinks he can disable that right now.
From that point.
Yeah. Okay. That way, because it's gonna go off again.
Yeah. It has been.
Is there a shred file that's?
Just leave it in your folder. I take care of it. Just keep it in your folder.
Makes sense. Good. It's step in the right direction. I was looking at those numbers. That's why you're still my previous. I was looking at those numbers during the month. I'm saying, we're just, we're not even treading water. We're not even treading water with those numbers.
That was a nice big hit.